Hi, I'm Andrew,
And I'm Sam.
and we're going to be board gaming. And today we're going to be taking a look at the newest Days of Wonder game, Heat, Pedal to the Metal. I'm going to give you a quick teach and show you how it's played, and we'll come back and give you our final thoughts. All right, so I'm going to be using the USA map to show you how this game is played. And every map is going to be a little bit different. Every map is going to tell you how many laps to take. They're going to tell you how many turns there are on the track, as well as your starting heat and starting stress. Okay, so every player is going to be controlling one of these cars. So I have set up here, I'm going to be controlling the red car. Okay, and I'll give you kind of a rundown of how a turn works and what to kind of expect when you're playing. Because some things you'll be doing simultaneously, other things you'll be taking turns and doing them in order. So, how's this going to work? So, like I said, you're going to have your starting heat. So, in this race, there are 6. So, I have my 6 starting heat that are going to go right here. And then you're going to have your starting cards. So you're going to have, I believe, 12 regular cards and then 3 upgrade cards that are the exact same for every single player. You can take these out and use the upgrade cards, whether they're advanced. They have other ones that give you a little bit more asymmetry, but these are going to be the basic upgrade cards that everybody will start. So I'm just going to go ahead and use those. And then you're going to take those 3 stress that you're going to have and you're going to shuffle those into your deck. Now, since I have this set up as just a solo game, I'll actually show you a little bit on how the AI or the AI player works for this game. So essentially, whoever goes around the course the fastest in 2 laps is going to win. All right. So you start with a hand of 7 cards at the beginning of the race. 5, 6, 7. All right. And here's going to be my hand. So what you're going to do on your turn following this order here, your turn order, is simultaneously you are going to be shifting and deciding which cards you want to play. So at the beginning of your first turn, your little shifter here is always going to be on the first gear, and you can shift up or down. Obviously, if I'm in the 1, I can't, but typically you can shift up or down 1 time. If you shift up 2 times or shift down 2 times, you will take a heat because you're putting strain on your engine. So in this case, I will shift up twice because I'm going to want to go fast. As you're going around this track, you're going to see that there are turns that are going to have speed limits. And so I have up to 13 spaces. There are going to be numbers all around the board that's going to tell you how many spaces until you get to that next turn. So I know I have 13 spaces until I get to the next turn on this track. All right. So I'm going to try to get as close as I can to that without blowing through it and then causing more heat because I wouldn't make the corner check very well. Okay. So in the game, whoever's first is going to go. So if you are closest to this race line, so these two are obviously on the same line, but the race line is this little bit thicker white line that's going to shift around the track. That's who's going to be going first. In this case, we already know who's going to go first. It's going to be yellow. So since I have that, I'll show you how that's going to work. But before I do that, we shifted up 2 gears. So I'm going to take 1 heat. And then because I'm on the 3rd gear, that means I have to play 3 cards. So whichever gear you're in, that is the number of cards that you will play. So I know I can go up to 13. I might go 4, 8, and maybe I'll play a stress and see what I can do there. Okay. So I'm going to play these cards. Everybody will play them simultaneously. And then once everybody is done, you can, do your little reveal or whatever. And whoever goes first is going to move first and so on and so forth. Okay. So if you're playing with the solo, I'm not going to try to put too much on here, but I figured, hey, why not? This is something I want to show how easy it is to play with the AI. You're just going to have this little deck and you are going to flip it and reveal it. And this is going to be for every car on the board. So for yellow, since it's not player controlled, it is going to move 13 spaces. However, it only has 12 to the turn. So if it were to go 13, it would blow through the turn. Okay, so if that is the case, the car will just simply move up to the number in its column. So in this case, that 1 caution sign is where it's going to move. It's going to move right up here, and it'll be closest to the thick white line since it was the first of that space. Okay, then it would be black. Same thing. He's only 12 spaces. He would be moving 18. Can't do that, so he's going to move up to the 3. Right? And then you keep going. Green would move 12. He can move 13, so he can move all the way up 12 spaces, putting him at the 1. All right? And this way, it is nice that you can just, instead of counting out the spaces, okay, 13 minus 12 is 1. Got it. Easy. Okay? Then it would be me. So I would have my turn. I would move. I would be looking at my cards. I have a stress. So I would normally just add them up and move. But since I have a stress, I am going to have to essentially blind boost. If it's anything but a value card, a speed card, it automatically gets discarded right away. Okay, so it'll go right into your discard. So I can't use a heat for that. It will get discarded. All right, then I'll get this one. Oh, not what I wanted. I was hoping for a 3. It is what it is. I am going to move 9 spaces, putting me up to the 4. Okay, so then I would move my car the 4 spaces. In a 4-player game, if you are in dead last, you will have access to adrenaline, which gives you 1 extra movement as well as 1 cooldown, which we'll get to here in a second. If it's a 5 or 6-player game, the last 2 players will get this adrenaline, so the extra movement and the extra cooldown. Now, the AI players do not get that at all, so they don't get the extra movement or anything like that. They're never going to take heat, anything, never going to spin out, that kind of stuff. All right? So after I move, I don't get the adrenaline, then I can resolve any symbols that I have, right? So on your little gear here, you're going to be able to get cooldowns if you're in that gear. I'm in 3rd gear, so I'm not going to get a cooldown for that. If you play with some of the extra cards, they might give you some different symbols on here that you'll be able to cool down or potentially take heat. I can also boost. So every single one of these gears has this little plus sign. And it says, and what this means is that if I take a heat, I can flip over, kind of blind boost and move that many spaces. Okay. So if I want to do that, I can. I don't want to do that because I want to make sure I don't, go too far. And because I know I'm going to be slipstreaming, which is number 6. Okay. So if you are behind or next to a car, you will get to slipstream, which means you can move 2 spaces, 1, 2. Now, if there were cars in front of this black car, I would not be able to slipstream. I might be able to just move up 1. I would not be able to move the full value. Okay, so you'll be able to slipstream. And then last but not least, you would always check to see if for the corner. So you do a corner check, right? So if I go faster than 7, if I'm moving, if my total value is faster than 7 when I cross this line, I will take heat. That's the difference. So if I was moving 10 and I cross this line, 10 minus 7, I would take 3 heat. Okay. If for some reason I were to run out of heat and I were to take it, I would then spin out. And the way that would work, so let's say I did move 10 and I didn't have enough heat, right? Or let's say I moved 15 or whatever it would have been. I don't have enough heat. I can't take any more heat. I spin out. What does that mean? Well, first, you're going to go all the way back to the line to right before the turn line. That's where your car is going to automatically move back to. You are also going to be receiving some stress. You're going to take all the heat that you can, right? Then you're going to go back. Then you're going to be taking stress based on what gear you are in. If you are in 1st or 2nd gear, you'll take 1 stress. If you're in 3rd or 4th gear, you will take 2 stress. And then you will automatically shift down to 1st gear. Okay? So that's what it's going to look like if you spin out. So you want to make sure that you manage that heat. You want to make sure that you're managing the cards in your hand and knowing, hey, I'm coming up on a long straight stretch. Maybe I want to save these higher valued cards. Maybe I want to save the smaller ones if I'm coming up on like a hairpin turn, something like that. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of what you're going to be doing. So at the beginning, when you're picking your gears and picking your cards, that will all be simultaneous. And then in turn order, you'll be going through these extra steps that we just talked about. Now, at the end of your turn, you can discard any cards from your hand, so long as they are not stress or heat. Okay, they have a little symbol on them here. Cannot discard them. So they will clog up your hand if you do not have cooldowns in order to get rid of them. So the only way to get rid of heat is through these cooldowns here. And the only way to get rid of stress is to play them unless you have the upgrade cards that let you discard them. All right, so I could discard this whole hand, right? All these go away, and then I would draw back up to 7. So you'll always have a hand of 7 cards. Okay, so that's where this game really is going to shine, in that card play, knowing what numbers you need to have and how, if you boost it, what are the chances of you going a certain distance, and being able to play it that way. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. One thing I'll cover with these AI, I know I didn't move the rest of these, but let's say it was the next turn. I would flip this over. Yellow, right? We would normally say, oh, yellow moves 14. Well, he can't because he's going to blow through this turn. So then what he's going to do when they're past this yellow line, right? So now that they're past this yellow line, you don't go based on the value. You're going to take the turn, so the 7. Okay, so once I'm past this yellow line, take the 7 plus what this number is, 8. So yellow would move 8 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? That's how they're going to work. So it's all going to be based on these yellow lines that you're going to see. If they're before the yellow line, they move this value. If they're past the yellow line, it's the turn plus the number at the top of the column. And that's how it's going to work. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of how this game works and the strategy and tactics behind it. You know, there is a little bit of a meta there with, hey, maybe I want to go where somebody else might be ending up in their turn so I can get a slipstream, and just really kind of maybe think, what are the other racers going to do? Maybe I can take advantage of them, slipstream around the corner, something like that. So yeah, the card play is where this game is definitely going to shine. But let's go ahead and take it back up top and give you our final thoughts.
All right. Thanks, Andrew, for teaching us how to play.
Mm-hmm.
Starting out, what would you say are your positives for this game?
My positive for the game, I like that it's a racing game that I'm actually racing in. You know, a lot of time racing games are simplified. The simple ones are betting games, right?
Yeah.
You're not actually racing. You might own a race car, or you might own a horse or something like that. But you're placing bets on a bunch of other horses or race cars, that kind of stuff, right? And I love racing games. So take that with, let you know I'm a little bit biased when it comes to racing games. I might be a little bit more strict as well. And so, yeah, I like that you were an actual racer. I mean, you had to win the race if you were going to win the game.
Yeah.
Sometimes some people might like that, some people might not. I love the art. I think the art looks nice. The boards look nice. I like that the rules teach is fairly simple. It might take you, I would say, one play to learn how to actually play the game and figure out what you're doing. But by that second play, you should be pretty solid on the rules. I like the AI. So in the solo, or if you want to add the computer players, AI players, I like that. I think that they're very competitive. I think that it makes it for a good solo game as well. So solid racing game that you can play solo. I like how much comes in the box. I really like the diversity when it comes to the upgrades, whether you want to do advanced upgrades or basic upgrades. It makes everybody's car a little bit different. I like the championship. We've played through that. The championship that you can do, which is really cool and just changes things up. I like everything gets added in, the media, photographers, the weather, all the little modules that are in here are really great. So there's a lot that goes in the box. You have 4 tracks, so there's a lot to explore and a lot of replayability. So I really like that as well. What about you?
For me, I do like that it's an actual racing game, which was different. So I like the whole concept of it because I've never actually played a game that is actual racing. The betting, I feel like with this, there's more strategy versus luck. So the components I think were cool too, just like the fact that the like little race cars were nice.
Yeah.
They weren't like cheap, little cardboard race cars or something like that. So
Right.
I also do like the artwork. I think something I did enjoy too was that it had different maps.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool that it didn't just come with like one map and then that's all you do. So that was cool. But I think just the whole idea of like shifting gears and all of that was unique.
Right.
So overall, like it was a pretty unique game. It was easy to play once you did get the hang of it. So, and it's kind of one of those games, like it is a strategy type game. So, I do like that rather than just like, oh, that was bad luck.
Right.
So,
yeah, I think you pointed out some really good things. So what about your negatives? I didn't want to keep going into positives. So what about your negatives?
Negatives, I think for me it was just like you're trying to for me it's like you have to be very careful of the turns. And so like that does go back to like, being smart about your turns and the cards that you play.
Yeah, you can't take it going, 200 miles an hour.
So yeah, and I would do that and then I would spin out. So I feel like once you spin out, like you're kind of you're done. But you've also spun out and then I think you ended up winning. So,
I did. It was an extended race. I think it was during the championship that we ran. It was an extended race. I spun out really close to the beginning.
Yeah.
I think it was because I had flipped some of those stress cards and I went too fast.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I did spin out, but I think I did win, or I got very close to winning. It is very difficult if you spin out to win, and I think I'll piggyback a little bit on that. Some of this does feel unforgiving. Like if you fall behind, and I think that'll be if you play with somebody who's played it and you have a new player, if you're the new player, just focus on learning how to play the game.
Yeah.
Because veterans, I think, are going to definitely have an upper hand in this, and knowing the cards that you've played or haven't played and what the chances are of you flipping whatever, and really knowing where you need to get on the turns so then you can have a great next turn.
Because you could take a risk, and I think that's how I did it, was like, oh, I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to see how, if I can get the right cards, but then the cards came out and made me spin out. Right. So it's like, I guess there is some luck to
there
it. There
is, yeah.
But you also have to think like this could potentially happen.
Right.
So
like I know I've played my 4s, or if you're playing I know I've played my 5 or whatever it is. So
right.
I mean, I can't expect a lot out of those stress boost cards, kind of thing. So just having kind of a good memory of what have I played, what could possibly still come up. And I think that'll you'll just grasp like, okay, I know that there's 3 4s in there, or 1 5, or whatever it is. Right. And it just eventually you'll get the hang of it. But I do think it can be unforgiving.
That's the right word, because I was trying to figure out like what's the right word for it is unforgiving.
But once you get it, then you'll be fine, because you'll know like, okay, don't move just one space right off the get go. We have played that with a couple people where we're like, okay, here we go. You understand the rules. And the very first turn, like you got that giant straightaway, and they move like 3 or 4, and it's like you got to go all in. Like and then they might be playing catch up for the rest of the game potentially. Maybe not in that situation, but if you spin out, you'll feel that tension of I gotta catch up. And I should say that as a positive. This does deliver. It is fast paced, and it does give you that tension that you should be getting in a racing game.
Yeah. Definitely going around the turns too. Right. Like, I mean, that's what it feels like. Like you have to slow down to go around the turns.
Right. And there can be a little bit of a meta game there, because if I'm trying to slipstream around somebody, I might be trying to think, okay, where might they end up going, and can I just be within a space of them, and then maybe I can slipstream and I can, jump around a couple cars, whatever it is. So there is some strategy and tactics to the game as well. That I do like. I know we're talking about negatives, but that there is a little bit of that meta to it, I think.
Right.
So yeah. So getting into that, let's go ahead. Is there anything that you wanted to add before we jump to final scores?
Nope.
Okay, so we'll start with you. What would your final score for Heat be?
I think I would give it like a 7.8.
Okay, 7.8.
Almost an 8, but not quite.
Okay. For me, I like racing games. I love racing games. And in my opinion, this is the best racing game out there. I've thought about this because I'm a huge fan of Long Shot the Dice game. I'm a huge fan of Downforce. Yes, they're bidding games. Yes, you might own some cars, whatever. Best racing game right now is Heat. I think it is from even though it's going to take you maybe a play to get into it, it is the best. I wanted to give this a 10.
It is fun.
I wanted to give it a 10, but I'm not going to, just because it might be a little bit to get into at first, right? And knowing the whole Heat thing, and I think it's pretty easy to follow your turn order, but that has been a little bit confusing for some that we've played this with. So I'm going to give this a 9.5. I absolutely love this game. If I could go back and say what my number one game of last year would have been, I know I said Dead Reckoning. I think it would be Heat. Okay. Dead Reckoning has gone up for me, but Heat just hits on all cylinders. It plays really quickly. I love all the variety that comes in the game. I love this game. Love it.
Played it a ton.
I've played it so much.
You got it for Christmas.
I have, and I've played it a ton. Yeah. So much. And so, in my opinion, if you like racing games, this is a must-have. Must-have. If you're a solo gamer who likes racing games, must-have. Right? Just know it might be a little bit of a stretch. And when I say a little bit, I don't think it's that stress, but still, 9.5, best racing game that is out there right now, in my opinion. So go check it out. I think it's worth it. Yeah,
Snow
super excited about it.
Meets Downforce. Okay. That's just my opinion, though.
I don't think it's that. There's no drifting yet. Maybe that's in the expansion, because they have room for expansion. So more stuff's coming. I would love some more tracks. It looks like a ton of cards. I don't know what extra cards, maybe more car upgrades. I don't know. I would love some additional championships to run through. I think that would be really awesome. That kind of stuff. I love the game. It's a great game.
Yeah. It's
good. Yeah, go check it out. Let us know what your favorite racing game is down in the comments. And please like, comment, and subscribe, so whenever we get a video, or whenever we post a video, whenever we get a video. Sorry. And we will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.
See ya.